Hi, my name is Jacob Brown. My username on most platforms is Vengeance5714, as is the YouTube channel that you found this on. I have to give you a warning that any other content on my channel may not be family friendly, but this video is. This will be totally school appropriate, totally clean. This is going to be a demonstration, a guide on how to pick and upgrade a vehicle in the newly released Forza Horizon 5 for Xbox and personal computers. The idea is we are going to make a car that is good for off-the-road use. I just did a more thought-out, longer video if you're actually interested, but this is going to be still a good video that'll get, it'll improve your baseline performance greatly. The first thing I'm going to say is we are going to enter the auto show where you can buy new cars. The first thing that you need to do is press the Y button to pull up the filter, and you want to make sure that your vehicle is obviously affordable, and it's more fun to have one that isn't owned. We do not want too much power in our vehicles, so we're going to search for performance classes D, C, B, and A. Now you can normally choose by car type, but we won't be using that today. From here, we have a good list of options for a vehicle to take off the road. Some of them are literally made for it. Like, for example, this UTV, it looks like something you'd see around Pennsylvania or something like that. For our case, we're going to choose something a bit different. So we want to find a car that has a bit more lift off of the ground, which will help us in the long run. So just for the sake of a quick example, we're going to just grab this Mustang Boss 302. Now you see close this. You can see from the bottom of the car there is a good amount of clearance from just like the wheels to the actual car. That leaves room for things to be under the car, like, if you're hitting an excessive volume of bumps or etc. Something of note is you do not want a car that is too big or too long, because most off-road tracks are actually kind of short in terms of like width. However, we'll be sure to make this vehicle work. Any vehicle can work if you do it properly. From this point, you're going to want to navigate to upgrades and tuning, custom upgrade, and you do not want to upgrade from top left to bottom right. You actually want to go from bottom right to top left. Example of what I mean here is we're going to sit this upgrade in here, and then we're going to go over here like we were just going top right to bottom left. So we will switch this over to this engine, for example, and now this upgrade was removed. That is why you do not want to upgrade in that direction. You want to upgrade in the inverse. So we're going to start here. Now, the vehicle is a rear-wheel drive vehicle. We're going to go into the drivetrain selection and change it to an all-wheel drive drivetrain. This means that all four wheels will be receiving power from the engine, which is going to be better in an off-road scenario. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to choose an upgrade. This does not visibly change the vehicle much or physically, so apply it anyway. This is a case where this is actually going to be more efficient, so please put that on. The next thing we're going to go to is the wheels, more specifically the tires. Since we're doing rally racing, there's actually a specifically made tire for that, which is the rally tire. We can make the wheels bigger using these next to width options, and the reason for that is all four wheels are receiving power, and the general rule of thumb is larger tires that are receiving power from the engine are better, but since all of them are, we want them all to be bigger. Rear track width is the only option that we can select here. It is best to go with the biggest because that'll leave the car to be more stable. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to the transmission options. You actually would like a general 6-speed transmission. Since we changed our drivetrain, it automatically equips a race 6-speed transmission. We do not want to increase our transmissions to a 7, 8, 9, or 10 speed because that increases weight, which will make the car less efficient. You can equip a upgraded driveline for pretty much no cost because it just lowers the weight of the vehicle, increases the RPM a little bit. Now, we do not want an off-road differential because even though we will be going off-road, there may be moments when we're hitting the blacktop, and that is when this will fail. We just want a race differential option. Next in line is the platform and handling. We're going to go to the brakes. Brakes, if you can equip them, is nothing to lose, everything to gain. It reduces weight, makes them more efficient, etc. Another thing we're going to modify is the spring and dampeners. There's actually a option for rally. They will pretty much preemptively do all the technical stuff for you, and it's going to be the best. The anti-roll bars, which are the next two options we're going to go through, just increase it to the highest one because that'll allow for tuning in the future if you want to do more advanced things, but they also don't cost you much, so it's another thing. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. We are going to put on the highest chassis reinforcement and roll cage. This is actually pretty big value. It's important that you do this. This is going to help the car stay more stable and not lose control when we're off the road. There is a saying when it comes to weight reduction. A car with more power may be faster in the streets, but a car with less weight is faster everywhere. So make sure to squeeze in the best weight reduction that you can into a vehicle. Next is entirely about the engine. So what we are going to do is all of these to their maximum potential because this is going to maximize the amount of power in a vehicle. If you cannot, we will evaluate on what is the most important. So bear with me while I equip the race version of all of these items in my vehicle. So first things first is if you cannot do every upgrade because you can't afford it or you're trying to fit into a certain classification of vehicle, the best things that you can do is the flywheel because that's going to raise your vehicle's RPMs faster and it's going to reduce weight. Another example is the camshaft because that is going to increase your RPMs, which allows the flywheel to do more work, and I believe they also reduce weight as well. Next up is the exhaust. If you're less preferential, you can choose by the sound that the exhaust makes by using your trigger to rev the engine. But in my case, I wanted as much power, which means that I needed the race one. The next best thing that you can do is an intake, which will also modify how your car sounds. I wanted the most power, but you can also do that by preference. If you have... We go over here to conversion real quick. We can see that we can choose turbochargers or a supercharger. We are going to put a supercharger in it. This changes the engine's options a little bit. You can now upgrade the supercharger. If you have a supercharger in there, you should upgrade it. Then you can change the intercooler and oil and cooling to their maximum to help supplement the supercharger to be better. The intake does this as well. Now that we have pretty much put as much power as we can into the vehicle, we are getting about 540 horsepower to each of the wheels. So that should be good for what we're trying to, that should be good for our objective this time around. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the setup, pay for it, and take it out onto the road. But at this very point, at its base level, you have improved the vehicle's off-road performance, and that is really all you need to do to have an off-road vehicle. After this, it's entirely about advanced tips and tricks, which is actually featured in my other video if you want a more advanced guide. But this is all you need to have a good performance off-road.